Hello, beautiful awakened souls. This is the Awakened Souls podcast. I am your host, Devin Brown, Kundalini activator, spiritual guide, and hopefully, just a great source of entertainment. Today, we are going to be talking about what is a starseed and how does your Kundalini activation play into this. Then next week, we're actually going to go deep into what a Kundalini activation is. I'm going to touch on it a little bit this podcast just because the two do go hand in hand. A starseed, when they are coming into their power, coming into their name, has their Kundalini activation. However, we're going to dive deep into what an actual Kundalini activation is and a Kundalini awakening is and what it looks like, what you might experience next episode. So let's start with who can receive a Kundalini activation. A Kundalini activation is actually for those starseeds. My own loving nickname is Kundalani, like those who can have a Kundalini activation. And that is like how the whole Patreon, my whole Kundalani Rising program got into play is with that play on words, essentially. So what a starseed is you are a spiritual being. There are so many different spiritual entities in this realm and in other realms and in parallel dimensions and even just like this dimension, but like outer space. Think about how big and how huge the world is. We have multiple planets, we have multiple galaxies, we have multiple universes. Like we have yet to experience and to see everything. Inside of each of these different planets, there exists other life forms. There exists other planes of existence. There exists multiple. We're not the only life here in the universe. Let's put it that way, which, NASA is now being very open about, which, we all knew. But that being said, a Kundalini awakening is when somebody who decided that they were going to come down to earth to help alter the frequency and move us into a higher vibration agreed to come down, and they are a spiritual being of sorts, hence the starseed. So what a starseed is it is, and I'm going to get back to the Kundalini activation, I promise. What a starseed is it is you, a spiritual being. Some of you come from other dimensions. You might be a fairy. You might be a mermaid. You might be Palladian. You might be Octarian. You might, these are names and things you can do your own research on. But basically, bottom line, we have angels, we have people who have seen creation of earth forms. I happen to be one of those starseeds. I do remember creation being formed, and that's actually something I talk about in my book. It's one of those situations where we came down specifically to help humanity kind of get back on track, because what's been happening is right now things are in a spiral of, or were in a spiral of sorts into negative dark ages, especially the past couple thousand years, we have been in a dark age where, there's been religious persecution, there's been all of these things. And now we're in this kind of, it's almost like a fake religious freedom, if that makes sense. You're allowed to believe this, and this is how you get yourself free. But in true reality, we have trapped ourselves through organized religion, and we have trapped ourselves through conditioning patterns, and we have trapped ourselves through generational trauma and have put ourselves on this, I'm going to use the term karmic cycle because that's what you guys are familiar with. The word karma actually comes from the Sanskrit word that represented action for your life, self-action, self-reflection, the way that you're going to do. So if somebody was saying, they have good karma, they have good choices for their life. They have good action for their life. They are taking action for their choices. So when I say karmic circle, a lot of you guys think, if I'm not good enough in this life, I'll make up for it in the next life, or blah, blah, blah. Like Buddhism, if I come back as an ant, it means I wasn't good enough. There's a lot of misrepresentation of what the karmic cycle actually is. But a lot of the times, we sign ourselves up for these experiences to come down and not only usher in earth, but to also experience all the emotions that are here, all the human lifetime experiences that people, whether it's getting married, whether it's feeling sickness or sadness or war or happiness or joy, there are these things that we have pre-orchestrated before we came down. So what happens is a starseed is somebody who is coming down specifically to help us usher in the golden age. And right now, I think we have 144,000 that are here right now currently. And there's actually probably more, but that is a number that I know for sure is here on this planet. And we are waking up. We're starting to feel kind of uneasy. We feel kind of like we need to change, but we can't quite put our finger on it. Like we are trying to find our purpose. And so if you have been just suddenly feeling like you have no purpose, you need to find a purpose, kind of feeling unsettled, chances are you might be one of the 144,000. You might be one of those starseeds that decided and orchestrated, I'm going to come down to Earth. I'm going to live this specific human experience so that when I have my Kundalini activation, I will be healed and activated specifically in this chakra, this chakra, this chakra, and this chakra because of my preconditioned patterns that I had to deal with. Let me take myself, for example. I am a very big voice right now for the starseeds, a very active voice, a very open voice, a very much like this is who we are. I am here as a Kundalini activator. For any Kundalini who is still sleeping, if you guys run into my program and you run into this podcast and you start feeling like there's something here, that's because you are beginning to be activated by the voice vibrations in my voice. You're beginning to be activated by my energy that I put into this podcast. You are being activated by those things that I say because you yourself are a Kundalini. And I can tell you guys, like a lot of the times, even if I'm just talking to you on the internet, if I see your picture through a TikTok video, or if I see you down the street, or if sometimes in my dreams, you will come and meet me on the astral field, I can tell if you are a Kundalini or not immediately. Like I know immediately, yes. Now there are some who are travelers and visitors who are not necessarily part of the starseed system. Like they're just here to kind of experience Earth, to kind of help, play a part by maybe being like a background role player, so to speak. But right now I'm specifically talking about the starseeds. Those of you who are feeling unsettled, you're feeling like you need to change something, you're feeling like something just isn't quite right, but you can't put your finger on it. You are a starseed. You are a Kundalini. You are here to change the vibration of Earth. We are getting into the golden age. And what does that mean? The golden age is where we come back to our magic. We come back to the relevance of our power and who we were. And what do I mean by that? Every single starseed has magical giftings. And I'm using the word magical very literally. You can heal people with energetic touch. You can astral project. You can travel from dimension to dimension. You can access psychic abilities. You can talk and channel to other deities in other realms. You can manifest anything in your life just by thinking it and speaking it. You can do all of this, but it takes one deep healing and deep inner work because you have set yourself up for patterns that needed to be changed, needed to be transfixed, that you needed to go through in order to get yourself to the place of healing that you need to come through. It's called the dark night of the soul. It is what comes through when you do your Kundalini activation. You have to accept the fact that I know I'm not happy with my life right now, or I know something has to change in my life right now, or I just want to embrace who I am fully right now. Well, what does that take? Does it take changing your belief system? Does it take changing maybe where you live or where you work? Does it take changing your relationships? Does it take changing the way you speak about yourself? There's so many people that I have that will message me and they want to remain anonymous because they are afraid to speak out because maybe their jobs, it's not acceptable. Maybe their careers, it's not acceptable. All of this stuff. Like I had, if you guys remember, I spoke about this, a psychology professor who is very open to astral projection and very open to hypnosis and past life regression. And she does this on her own, in her own practice, but she doesn't want anybody else to know about it. And she felt willing to talk to me about it because I am so open with what I believe and how I speak and how I feel. And I'm going to school for psychology right now. Like we have to accept that there is a very big difference between psychosis and human evolution. And that is what my path is. It's not only Kundalini activation, but it is using my gifting and my own knowledge to stand in place as a place of authority and as a place of a teacher and a mentor, but also a humble atmosphere where I understand how hard it is. I understand it is difficult to wake up. I understand taking responsibility is one of the hardest things you will have to do, but that is how you will awaken. And what happens as we come into this golden age and everybody begins to get these powers back, we begin to experience these things. We're also going to be open to the beings of other realms to come in and be a little bit more open that they're here, not coming in on 3 or 4 planes separate from where we are, not coming in and only opening themselves up to certain people, like, or certain animals. You know what I mean? Like, we have these giftings, and Earth is shifting into this space and into this place where we're going to be experience these things. We're going to be open, and it is time for us to access our magic. And what you're going to be seeing with children, we have a lot of kids that are being born neurodivergent. And what do I mean by that? It can be kids on the spectrum. It can be kids with ADD. It can be kids with ADHD. It can be all of this stuff. And guess what? It's not just stuff in the water or stimulation or any of these things. It's because our human evolution is moving forward and our human neurodivergence is moving forward. And those kids have access to those giftings. But here's the thing. It's like a muscle. You have to exercise it. You have to work it. I'm not going to go in the gym and try and lift 500 pounds on a bar when I can't say that I work out or that I got myself to that point. It's not going to work. You have to slowly, very gradually, and every day consistently build that muscle so that then you can go and lift the 500 pounds. It's the same thing with our spiritual practice. It's the same thing with our awakening. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen where suddenly you have access to all of these gifts. But here's the thing. When you do fully accept where you are, you fully accept who you are, you fully accept where you're going as a starseed, you will do what I call quantum leaping. And what a quantum leap is it's where you suddenly, boom, that gift is active. Boom, that gift. And it's almost like domino effect. Like they all just flow. But if you stop practicing those things, if you stop utilizing those things, which part of that is we forget sometimes that we're starseeds. Like I remember I astral projected to what I like to call the throne room, which is where the person who actively created this planet. Now there was a lot of input, and I think there were possibly different energy inputs like as this took place, but the main creator of this planet, I like to go and commune and talk, and just like you would call him God if you're a Christian, you would call him Allah if you're Muslim, you would call him multiple source if you're spirituality. Like there's many different things that you can refer to as your deity of light. But that being said, like he's the one that put Earth together, and I'm using he very relatively. It's not a boy, I'm not saying that, but I go and I talk, and one of the things that he, again, relatively, spoke to me was, you keep forgetting who you are, and it's time to stop. And he took this light and flew it at me, and it just think of it like a force field type situation you would see in Star Wars. It just encompassed my whole body. And it's since then, I have lived very much who I am, very much as a starseed, very much as a spiritual being, very much as an awakening. But there are moments and times where I still get wrapped up in the humanness of the world, get wrapped up in oh, I don't like this. I feel sick. Why do I feel so sick? Okay, well, yeah, I'm detoxing. I'm having this energetic release because of something that's going on. But how can I heal this? How can I do this? I'm going to give an example of one thing that I don't know if I ever shared this on this podcast. I don't believe I had, but there was once I was riding my horse. She actually slipped and fell, and I fractured my left leg. I actually tore my ACL completely off the bone. I tore my cartilage in half under my kneecap. I had bone bruising, obviously, in the hairline fractures on the top and the bottom, and it was just a mess. And I'm sitting there at this point. I had been getting very actively involved with my spiritual practice and very actively involved with my healing practice when it comes to Reiki and to energy work and to actively using source to heal people. And I have been able to literally have people have gout come in and have it removed. I had people who were struggling with addiction, and I've worked with them. And then a couple days later, they contact me. They're like, I have not craved anything. A month goes by. I haven't had anything since that session. And they're using energy treatments almost as a way to keep themselves feeling balanced and not having those same triggers activate in a way that makes them feel they don't have control anymore. I have had somebody who came in who had sarcoidosis in their lungs. I removed something black in the lungs. I didn't know what it was. They called me the next day and said, I've had sarcoidosis in my lungs for 3 years. I had no idea that it was there. Or I personally had no idea that it was there. And they were like, I had a doctor's appointment scheduled the day after our session, and I had to get x-rays to make sure it wasn't worse and that I wasn't going to have surgery, because if it gets too bad, like we have to go in surgically. She said, we did x-rays and it was 100% gone out of my lungs. And so here's the thing. I had told her that what I saw was something black in her lungs and that I was working to remove that. And she didn't tell me what it was or anything. Like, I just was letting her know what I saw and what I was working on. And so here's the thing. I have these giftings because I'm a starseed. I have these giftings because of who I am. I have these giftings because I have worked to tune myself in to that energy, into that frequency, the frequency of light, the frequency of love, the frequency of source, of who we all are, because source is part of the creator of this realm. Source is part of the creator of every single thing you see. Think of it like a tree's root system. Those roots go deep into the earth and they communicate with each other. If one tree is being attacked by bugs, it actually releases a chemical warning through its root system into the ground, and it sends out to the other trees around the area to harden their bark so that it can't be succumbed to the same insects that are coming against it. Doesn't seem to work too well on the lantern flies over here, but we're trying. So that being said, though, like, we in general as humanity are all connected on the same source system. We are all connected on a deep realm of this. And how we get to activate these is by having our Kundalini awakening. It's by facing what it is in our lives that is not actually living in what we want or where we choose to be, and being true to ourselves, putting ourselves first, finding our highest joy, finding our highest passion, acting on that, and just allowing ourselves to believe something that's different than what we were ever taught was okay. It's a big part of letting go of conditioned ideas, a big part of letting go of the idea that you have to have all the answers, but it's also the willingness to be misunderstood. That was the biggest part. So for me, growing up, one of my triggers was that people would think that I was crazy, that people would literally look at me speaking right now and never take me seriously. And this started from childhood. Like, I shared this in another podcast episode. I had once where we were driving down the road and I saw something that was in a different dimension, like not here, run across the road. And it didn't register to me that it wasn't there. Like, I just saw it and I yelled out in the car, "Watch out, you're going to hit it." And my parents freaked out. And I was told, like, in their own reactive state, because I scared them, if you ever do that again, we're going to put you in a mental institution. There was nothing there. You can't be crazy. Like, and they don't actually remember ever doing this. Like, so they were having a reactive state. But as a little kid, that scared me because I'm being yelled at for speaking out on something that I saw, and I'm being told that I was crazy. Well, then in my marriage, one of the things that my ex-husband had done multiple times, like if we were having a fight or like there was gaslighting going on or anything, was I was told that I was mentally unstable and he doesn't know how to fix me. And I'm being very honest, like that was like super triggering for me because I was always so afraid of being thought of as crazy, which is why I tampered down my gifts. I denied my gifts. I denied my existence. And I had to be willing, when I went through my Kundalini activation, to be willing to be looked at as crazy. I had to be willing to say, yes, I've been a worship leader for years. I have been so dedicated to the Christian community, but I don't actually believe any of this. This is actually what I believe. Or I thought this was my truth, but now I really feel like I need to explore this. And this is what I feel is actually true. Like, I had to be willing to be looked at like I was crazy because I was doing what appeared on the outside to be a 180, what appeared on the outside to be something that completely twisted and turned into something else. Like, but the truth of the matter was I finally was willing to be myself. I finally was willing to be open about what I wanted to explore. I was finally willing to take the steps necessary to take care of myself and to put myself first and to put my needs first. And being a starseed means you have these spiritual giftings that are meant to help humanity. Like the people that I have worked on, that I have healed, a lot of them are not starseeds. They're not spiritual beings. They are what humanity was when it was created. They're the intricate, like, I'm trying to think how to explain it. So there's the spiritual beings and the starseeds. We are here for human experience. So we're still here in the human bodies, but we also are spiritual entities here. And I'm not saying that I'm like Jesus. Jesus was the most powerful thing in the world, but think of it like Jesus. Like Jesus came and became man. He was a spiritual being that became man. So those of you who come from a Christian background can think about it that way. If it was able to be done that way, why did we assume that Jesus was the only one? Why did we assume that he was the only thing? Well, then let's look at Moses and at Elijah and at Elijah and at Muhammad and all of these beautiful spiritual beings. Mother Teresa, the Buddha, like there are so many starseeds and beautiful, beautiful beings that came down to help us usher into new truths. And the problem is that some of these truths that we spoke at the time have been taken and twisted to meet control, to deny us of our power, and to gaslight us into not believing that we have this power and that we're crazy, that we have to only follow X, Y, or Z. And it's kind of one of those situations, guys, where you feel the tug. You know that you're different. You know that you think differently. Maybe you blame it on your neurodivergence. Maybe you blame it on your upbringing. Maybe you blame it on your trauma. But the point of the matter is you're different because you are different. And it's okay to admit that you're special. It is okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean you're not humble. It doesn't mean you're prideful. It doesn't mean that you're being a bad person, like not even a little bit. But what it means is you are accepting yourself. You're accepting who you are. Like I know, and I talk about this in my book, so I'm not going to give away too much, but I know that I'm very, very connected to the starseeds. I know that the star mothers, like the goddesses of old who are in charge of different parts of the universe, they think of it almost like a galactic motherhood almost. Like they are so connected. Some of them, like the goddess Isis is one of them. And then there's a Palladian god, like godmother. There are all these things. Like I am very, very connected to them because I am the daughter of one of them. And I mean the spiritual daughter. Like we are spiritual beings that are here for a purpose that is more than what humanity would expect you to meet. Humanity says, oh, have a good job, have a good family, have a good place to retire, make a difference, make some people smile, maybe do some community work, maybe do this, that, or the other. But that's not what starseeds are. We are here for a deeper purpose. And some of that for you guys doesn't mean that you have to be like me, having a podcast, changing your life, creating like a big audience. That's not what I'm saying. But what it is that you can just change the frequency of Earth by being you, by getting over your trauma, by living authentically how you want to live, by being a light to the people that you come into contact with, because you will catalyst them into their own awakening, and you will catalyst them into questioning what it is that's right and wrong in relation to what they actually believe, not in relation to what they have been taught. So all that to say, in order for a starseed to wake up, they need a Kundalini activation. And a Kundalini activation is when all of their spiritual giftings come online, the different chakras in the body, which chakras are actually a real medical thing. It's actually nerve endings that meet in different parts of the body. Like for those of you who have ever had a massage, think of it similar if they're massaging your foot or your back or your butt and you feel it at a different part of your body. That's because they're touching probably the chakra section of those nerve endings that go all through the body. Well, when we come into humanity, we actually have those as a baby. Those chakras are open. They're pure. Like babies are perfect. They're pure. But as we go through life and as we go through trauma, in order to protect ourselves, we close off those chakras, put almost like a shell. And what a Kundalini activation is, it's almost, think of it like breaking the shell or cracking the rock to get to that energy source in the middle of each of those chakras. So then you can cleanse out, you can flow, you can purify yourself, and you can be one with source again. Because we were created in the image of the creator. Like there's the body, soul, and mind. Like there is, the source, there is the connection, there is the spiritual giftings. Like we have been taught, though, hate our bodies, ignore our souls, and don't trust our minds. Like with that, it pulls us away from what it is that we're meant to be and who it is that we're meant to serve. And I think like of it kind of almost like you break open those chakras and then you have the light, you have it, but then comes your dark night of the soul, where you then flush out all the preconditioned ideas, all the trauma, all the triggers, all of these things that have caused you to put that shell on those chakras for protection in the first place. You have to reparent yourself. You have to protect yourself. You have to say, you know what? Like, little Devin, you are enough. You know what, little Devin? You were abused. You were neglected. You were this, that, or the other. Like, you are enough. You know what, little Devin? You have never had anybody to trust, but guess what? You can trust me, because I am going to make sure that you are taken care of, because I get to make the choices for you now. Like, it is a matter of reparenting ourselves and not allowing our past to cause us to react versus respond to situations, cause us to react versus making choices that are beneficial to us, that cause us to stay stuck in a situation that isn't healthy for us, that isn't going to help us serve our highest purpose, that isn't going to bring us to fulfillment or joy. And when you have your Kundalini activation, your whole life will feel flipped upside down. You're going to look at things completely differently, and you are going to find your friend circle changes, your family acceptance changes, your family circle changes, your belief system might change. You are going to feel like you are losing a lot. You're going to feel like you need a cocoon. You're going to feel like you need to be quiet. You're going to feel like you need to separate yourself from what you once were. But with that, when you come out the other side, you are going to have a soul family there waiting for you. A soul family there connecting with you. You're going to have your guides there able to tell you what it is that you need to do. You're going to be able to trust your inner voice. You're going to be able to trust your inner self. And it is so very important when you are on this journey to partner with a mental health professional if you do not feel like you can handle it yourself, or if you do not feel like you have the support system around you that you definitely need during this time. And for anybody who does need help, I partner with several therapy offices here in my area that is very open to the spiritual and very open to this line of thinking and this line of work. And so you don't need to be judged. By all means, reach out to me, leave a comment. I'll shoot over like the information of different therapists. Like, I love them. And that's one thing the Kundalini program is going to do is I have a couple therapists that have been willing to work with me. And the Kundalini activation program is going to be meant to wake you up. It's going to be meant to get you through. It's going to be meant to break those shells in those different sections little by little, so that then you can take a month and do the work that's necessary for them. I'm going to have the whole program available for you to purchase straight up, like not do month to month, for $333. If you feel like you need extra support, I have it for $111 a month. We work month by month. We go through the program. You have your daily spiritual practice that you need to do. You'll get your energy updates. You're going to get a 5D to 9D energetic healing from me every week. You're going to have access to me as a mentor, specifically through questions that I'm going to take, and then have based on the questions that I get from you guys, have some kind of a presentation for you for the month. Like, we are going to walk through this together. And I have mental health professionals that have asked to partner with me on this program. We haven't quite figured out how that's going to work yet, whether they're going to come on and do some kind of online group therapy session, or they're going to come on and do an interview addressing the questions that you guys have spoken. That way they can be energy exchange. They can be paid for their time too, versus just giving for free. So all of that to say, you guys, if you are feeling the tug, if you are knowing that something has to change, you are not alone. You are ready for your Kundalini activation. If you have no idea where to start, I would love to help you. Connect with me on Facebook, connect with me on Instagram, on TikTok, Devin Brown on Facebook, Brown with the E on the end, to the Awakened Souls on both Instagram and TikTok, to the awakenedsouls@gmail.com. I want to be there to support you guys. I want to be there to answer questions. I want to be there to help you. We are in this together. You are not alone, not at all. And it is my honor to facilitate this with you guys. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I do this podcast for you guys. I am so honored to do what I do. If you would like to sponsor this podcast, you can do so on my patreon.com website. There is a link in this podcast description. $3 a month allows me to just keep it ad-free and come and bring to you guys what it is that I feel passionate about and speak about. I also have a couple different programs running right now where for $7 a month, you can gain access to my Billionaire Mindset activation. You can cancel any of these at any time. There's no requirement. Just once the first payment's done, you can cancel at any time. I also have my Kundalini activation program coming out with my book this fall. But for now, I have my Quantum Circle open. And what that does is we do an energy update with a channeled tarot reading for the week, where we see what the guides are telling us the energy is for the week, where it is that we're going, what it is that we're doing. And that is a collective tarot reading that is done every Monday. Then on the 21st of the month, we do a big energy update for what the general transition is going to be for going into the next month. And then after that, on the last day of the month, there is an energy meditation healing that is released that allows you to prepare yourself. If you are not a meditator, that is okay. You do not have to be super in depth to this. This is my gifting. I can pretty much hypnotize anybody. That is my gifting with my voice. And that is what this meditation does. It puts you in a hypnotic, relaxed state where you can still be alert. You can still, get up if there's a fire and you got to run out of the house. There's nothing like that, but you definitely do not want to operate machinery while you do this. But you can just sit back, relax, and allow your physical form just to shut down a little bit while your energetic soul form comes out and works with me in the astral and brings you to a place of healing to prepare you for your Kundalini activation and prepare you for your spiritual walk that you are doing right now. And that being said, if you like this podcast, please share it, like it. These 5-star reviews you guys give are absolutely amazing. I appreciate them. But all in all, just know I am here for you guys. You are not walking this alone. There are so many of us that have woken up, that are ready, that are moving forward. And just know that we are walking with you.